Hello, my name is Jonathan Anguiano, and I'm remaking another video just to try to find or try to reconclude people's mentalities. If not, I'm just gonna get right into it. I'm supposed to put more spaz, some za into it. Okay, so this helps with erection dysfunction, right? Because in other videos, I don't say that until like half an hour in. Why? It's more for your psyche. It's more for your mind, in my opinion. And so it helps with erection dysfunction. It helps you with muscle pain, joint pain. If you have musculoskeletal um, disease, which affects like 1.5 to like 2.5 billion, I forgot which one. I never looked it up, even though I did another video yesterday. Um, if you have musculoskeletal disease, because I keep wanting to say syndrome, you have the disease. Um, I'm just gonna presume naturally you probably have erection dysfunction with it, you know, because many things. For example, you have cold hands, cold feet. I just equate that to cold brain, you know. Why? I've seen it many times where, you can send like a flush of blood to your hands or to your feet, like to your neck, if you've ever felt like a flush has ran through your whole body. That means that flush of warmth could always, in theory, be there, but it's not. It just comes in flushes in a way where, in theory, why wouldn't it? For example, right? I'm just gonna talk about erection dysfunction. So if you ever had like a good penis day where you're jerking off or you're fucking somebody and you last longer, or like, and you always kind of test the squishiness and the girth. Like sometimes it's hard, and then or sometimes it's like rock hard, and sometimes it's squishier on the sides or even on the bottom. Usually at the bottom is usually kind of not hard, but sometimes it is. If you've ever, I don't even want to say, because sometimes, for example, right, at the bottom it's like squishy, not even gooey. Well, it is kind of gooey, but it's kind of like watery. Listen, all that's erection dysfunction. If you have the watery sac at the bottom, your penis, you have some form of it. Unless you kind of like can overlook it. But it's like I thought the bottom of my dick was always watery, like that little baggy thing, like it's lengthened. It kind of basically looks like your finger if this is your, and it's kind of like squishy. I thought that's how my penis was, just naturally. And then I remember this one day I got a boner and it was hard. One time, it's like, nah, low key, low key. It's like you only find it. It's like, and I was like, wait, what the fuck? Like I was pretty confused because I thought it was just watery, but in some way I low key could last very few minutes, if not, seconds. If it's a bad day type shit. And I was saying like, how do you fix it then? Okay, well let's get to it. For example, if you watch the video I did yesterday, I can really, if you watch the whole thing, after a while, I'm just talking bullshit. So if you watch the whole thing till I start talking about like conspiracies and theories, I borderline just reference things in such a pattern in such a way where you could, if you remember what I'm saying, it kind of pulls you back in, and I'm kind of having like a conversation I would with someone at a normal rate and a normal pace. If not, I'm just gonna skip through so I can make this shit like less than 15 seconds. If not, I'm really slow, and it's kind of like, for example, right? Have you ever pulled a muscle like you're doing this right at the gym and you're pulling this? Have you ever once got like it's rare, it's like in between the days, you could get like 5 that day or some shit where you pull and it actually pulls this muscle like hella bad. Like you almost, and it kind of like stings the muscle you think you want to hit. For some reason, I mentally think that that's the muscle I'm supposed to be hitting the whole time. But since I slouch, I do this, like I presume it goes more to my back. But if not, the strength of this, I mean, the pull of this, I feel like my back posture is like more positioned correctly. It's usually when you kind of correct it a bit and then you do that and you're like, oh, that was the truest one I hit. All right, so that mentality, yeah. And you're gonna have to, I pretend you're either standing or you're on your bed laying down, right? So I shouldn't put the foot on the wall, whatever. You kind of want to find, for example, right? If you do this, I'm leaning diagonally, okay? For some reason, right? you kind of have to go back until you go forward, but then there you go. You can feel it right here. It's like you're trying to find where correctly. For example, right? There's a few examples. Just to know the physics of your own body, right? It's gonna sound stupid, but if you squat your leg, you fall this side. For example, some of us do this, and it's honest, and to some degree, the problem is, right, when you're standing straight, you have bad posture, but you're holding yourself up, right? Let yourself droop and see where you kind of come back and where you kind of like, see, I do this and it doesn't catch me till a long point because I'm on my bed doing this. This is exactly what I'm doing on my bed. So to some degree, your abs are flexing, but your back is low key either strong as hell because it keeps pulling you back, or you're, for example, if I try to, you're trying to combat that. Okay, it's because you fall. You'll fall. Obviously, that angle, you're clearly pushing more to keep yourself up straight. But if not, you would just fall. It's kind of like it suctions you into it. And obviously, you hit a certain point where you obviously need to pull yourself back up, but you're not. Or you would, but you have to understand how you're supposed to kind of be a leaf. Because if you're being like too stern with what you're like, of course I'm not falling. It's like, nah, you're kind of not seeing the point. Oh my fucking! I'm trying to dry it up with air. Okay, let me see. So, okay, for example, right? I was suggesting in the other video, and I almost just caught this, but I didn't. I've known this one, but it's kind of like the mentality where your leg is kind of slipping, and that's kind of like your back posture. And bring yourself back is doing this. You kind of want to find how the weight is heavy on this and like stir on your hips. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because if not, let me see. You get what I'm saying? You can see the stomach do this. And that's because, well, if I'm standing, I'm not using any muscles. For example, if I'm doing this, or you get what I'm saying, and then this. Oh shit! Hold on, let me find. Because if not, nah, then I fucked up. Nah, the example's bad, but I swear to you, like, it feels like I kind of had more weight on it though. So it's kind of like maybe. There we go. It's for some reason you can't. It's kind of like your footing, right? Fuck. Sorry for cussing. It's kind of like your footing, right? You're doing this, but your leg kind of does this while you're standing straight. Just kind of like you can't really balance on it. Or when you're sitting down, it also does the same thing, but it does it in a different way. For example, you could have your legs, but okay. For example, you're sitting, you're leaning, your legs doing this, but you're doing this. But that's kind of correct. You know what I mean? But to some way, shape, or form, if you kind of lift your leg, you're kind of not lifting your leg. Kind of lifting your leg does this to you. But, okay. For example, right? Because you're trying to learn the physics of your body, because it won't heal today. And it'll be many other reasons that help you. But it's basically off the same physics. A lot of the mental play I do is kind of like understanding that pushing forward is pushing back. You know what I mean? Like you're leaning forward, you're just pushing this way to propel yourself forward. I don't know exactly with what that mentality. I know a few points with that, but I like the idea that your leg is not finding a proper position, which because you do this all day. For example, like our necks are supposed to be stiff, almost like penises, but mine is low-key a little squishy, and I can't lie to nobody. Mine's a low-key little squishy. And for example, my shoulder does this, and the left side of my body does this, but it's low-key bringing me back. So I don't know, I've been fixing it. Even since yesterday, I've been like sideways on my bed like I was suggesting. And I was like where you're crying in the corner and you have your legs tucked in here. I was just doing that. because it's cold. But I also play into that because you have to understand where the position of your knee is. For example, right? You want to know where your knee is in comparison to the stomach and the motion of your movements and the weight. For example, how come I could lift my leg and balance, right? You're assuming I'm doing more like this. Because if I move more like this, so to some degree, I'm doing this to counteract it. Or I'm doing this, maybe. But I'm doing this with my hip, or I'm doing this. Because if I do this, I guess I could balance between many. Like, see how the gravity, this is the biggest mentality I'm trying to say. It sucks you in, right? Because you're doing this until you're cool, but until you're not. And then you want to understand, what is this? This position is not the strengthening of putting your knee right there. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's actually catching you. Because you were kind of like, whoa, what the hell? Like, it really just, like it dies on you. You are paralyzed. I want you to know this. You are paralyzed. That's because you sit at school for many hours. That's because you sit at work for many hours. That's because you're at home doing nothing, sitting down, laying down for many hours. And then you go to sleep. So you're laying down for many hours. And it's kind of like your whole day consists of, let's evolutionize to, you know what I mean? Like, hold on, babe. Let me put my fat to the side. You get what I'm saying? Like, we're going to become so either wrinkly, fat, or some other thing. I mean, we're going to evolutionize this way, but that's some other things, right? For example, I suggest, in my theory, men last more than like an hour or two during sex. My full-on theory, my full hypothesis, and I say this because, low-key, have you ever had a day where you're like, boom! Imagine I had it today. You get what I'm saying? I feel like every person has had like at least 30 minutes on some random shit, like, and probably to an hour or an hour and a half. So, is that why? Well, sure, but the capacity, the capability is obviously there if you've proven it. You get what I'm saying to yourself. I guess you didn't record, you have no proof. But I feel like every man has at least had that lucky day, per se. Which I'm telling you, the only reason that had happened, is because of, I don't know what the fuck, the right muscles pulled. But I'm saying, if you heal your body, and I'm telling you, it does this. Like, imagine your dick just falls on you. You get what I'm saying? There's clearly a day you kind of caught it this way, where it was kind of falling and it didn't, and you kind of like were able to just, in a better position, right? Listen to this. Life is random. I just thought of this, but I kind of knew the pattern of it. For example, right? This is your penis, and then bang, it comes, right? Because boom, it somewhere deeper in your stomach is pinning you down or forcing it out. But I was saying, so you feel low key, it kind of catches itself, right? But you see how like I'm bending my knee in a way where. Nah, if you caught it the first time, it low-key looks like it. It's almost like I'm doing this, but I'm squatting, right? And then it goes this. And then you're able to hold it for a little bit longer. But not because you're pushing it, like to try to... Apparently that works, but it doesn't work like just because. But hear me out. Without like wearing a cock ring or some shit, right? You can fix your body posture. And I've been doing it for years, but low-key... for 3 years, pretty much to the day, almost, since December 2021. And what's it called? At first, right, I understood it in many different reasons. I'm sure the penis thing is I'm sure I've explained a bit. You have to understand the physics, and you have to understand this, why your leg like lifted, and then you kind of have to understand why, well, you always have to be able to pull your back self up. If you do that, okay, you'll be good. But I didn't do it that way. I did it laying down. But, to everybody their own credit, right? Because I'm assuming this looks like somebody else. But what I'm saying is, why does it pull me down? For example, right? There's many reasons. No one's gonna have a for sure fire one, and I say that for many reasons because you're gonna heal your body, right? You're gonna be looking to heal this, and that's almost incorrect. But a lot of weight does transfer through these hips So you got to understand, I don't know if it's 50-50. I feel like the top is a little more heavier than your legs. But then again, I don't know. So let's assume, right, it's a 50-50 ordeal or 70-30 or some shit. You have to see why you have this going on, okay? And you have to almost, in theory, right? I was suggesting a long time ago, you have to kind of curve more into it. It sounds stupid, but doing this shit on the wall, I didn't do because I wasn't on the wall while I was doing it. I was laying down. Well, I was sitting when I first discovered it. But you do this, right? This is how you're sleeping. This is how I sleep. When I was a kid, I used to sleep like this. Legit. I used to say, I'm standing straight, but my head's looking to the wall. Or my head's pointing to the wall. And you should have saw before I let go of my leg, my shit was kind of bringing me up, but I couldn't hold it. So I kept falling this way. But there's the muscles, like it's gonna press against my ass, it's gonna hurt bad, watch. Like I already know why. For example, right? Oh shit. Oh, I guess I caught it. But I put the weight on my butt. Because in theory, you're doing this now to pick yourself up, but your body's not pulling it down anymore on this side. To some degree, you're still paralyzed, so that's why you kept falling. But I was telling you, it's kind of like it forces you, and then it's kind of like it's like you pinch it, right? Because you're doing this normally, and then you become to fall. So it's like it paralyzes in a way where it's something. Okay, let me re-explain. It's kind of like you ever done this where you hit this, bah, and you see it, you fuck with somebody, and you're like gatito morado or something like, bah. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like a jolt. This is like I would say involuntary fucking reaction between like just naturally hitting a curve. It's like it came back to life at a certain moment where this portion was not ready to kind of kip yourself up. But I don't know if it's this portion. I think it's the whole entire piece. Listen, your body's intermingled, right, with one another. So you move this, it'll be like down here. Like it would make sense. Like you're doing this almost. So hear me out. You understand the physics. You understand like how it has to be appointed. You when you speak, you do this, but to some degree, it could just be that you don't look from this position. Try to revive, like try to use the muscles you think would come to help. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's a little better. Listen, this is how I used to sleep though. I used to sleep like this. Okay. To some degree, I'm pushing down, I'm pulling down with my muscles. I'm doing this. So if you're doing this, it clearly isn't 50-50 because you're doing this. So to some degree, you want to drop to the point where it brings you up. Why? Because when you carry something, you do this in a way where you understand, but it's not necessarily just because you're carrying, like just picture without weights. But let's assume you're doing this and you have to pick it up. You kind of lift it up right here. In theory, I think this is wrong. Doing the opposite is wrong work. You kind of want to just fall into it. Why? Because if you fall into it, what would this do? When involuntary reaction, when you're falling the other side, you're looking for the naturalism of what you kind of already do. But you're trying to, I don't want to say you're trying to time it. Your body's trying to do what you're asking it to do. And sometimes it could be that it low-key disblocked, or like it really just jolted and it's just so random that it caught you off guard. Whoa, you know? But what I was suggesting to people is when you're sitting down and you're doing this, you might as well be doing this. So to some degree, when you're doing this, you have an involuntary reaction to do the same thing because you're trying to, fuck it, come back. I don't know, from the dead, whatever. Listen, if you don't understand that, that's crazy. But look at the other videos. Look at my other videos. Because it is, I'm legit just repeating myself. You get what I'm saying? I'm doing the same thing. The whole thing. Ain't a joke before, and it comes back right after. So I'm saying, I'm getting quicker at explaining it, and I don't really need like 20 minutes. But to be fair, I took a lot of time just wording things out. But that is exactly the science that you're looking for. Like, whoa, because you're trying to do this as well. So you're trying to do both. You know what I mean? It's like let me see. I was trying to explain to people like doing this one is a little difficult because we don't know how to put. It's because I think it's because there's many becauses, all right? Because your body posture is like this is kind of weak, it's squishy, so it kind of doesn't know how to equilibrate itself at the best that you expect. Like my thing is low key a little bit good right now, but it changes while I'm sitting down or something. But it's not like stern yet. So I'm saying like, look, you're trying to put a lot of weight and you could feel it. And this is kind of difficult to do throughout the. It's just like it's like letting your leg drop and letting it kind of try to hold without you putting any pressure. It's almost like how far do you have to push your leg over here? To some degree, I do not know. It's just like some mental play I do because I understand that there's a position where you could, like, why do I fall? You know what I'm saying? There's the, well, I'm clearly not falling, but that's because I'm lifting my leg in a way where, let me just go that way. I'm doing this. It's clearly this one leg. For example, like, I don't know. Listen. So when he came home, so I think it's gonna be annoying. And my forehead's huge. Listen. So I basically solved it. I'm just saying. Between what and what are you trying to do? The best you're trying to do is find a position that you're naturally in. So if your body posture does this while you're lifting this, leave it. You get what I'm saying? Like this cracked because I was slowly leading into that crack in a way where you ever go like, and that's the only reason you probably lifted your arm because you're like, dude, to some degree, I have no idea why I did that. Other than it felt like this. The reason you felt like that is because it was calling you into it. Like, you ever feel like after a certain crack of a muscle, you kind of just have more muscle? It's kind of like if you feel like, it feels like the muscle's more doing this by accident. You have to understand that I don't exactly know what that is called. I don't know. That's like a phenomenon. I really don't know what it's called. But another thing, right? I was suggesting, right? You're laying down, try to stand. When you're laying down, try to stand. And realize, try to do this while you're laying down in your memory. Because it'll kind of do this. Like your leg will kind of just stiffen. And try to find where both of them stay stiff. Trying to lift you this way. You know, because this leg has to pull down. This leg pulls you down this way in a way where that was so incorrect. It's kind of like a, let me see. This leg is trying to weigh you down. It's like an anchor to the point you feel it in your hips. Like it doesn't, like I could understand when people are doing this, they kind of lift their leg. That's kind of bad because lifting, like, you gotta have to really put the weight on your back, but don't. You are not there, young Padawan. I'm telling you. It is, you will pull something. I suggest for the most of it, you try to lay down and mimic the position you're doing. Because you're laying down and you're kind of doing this. Try to find when this would ever kind of like save you. You're kind of looking to kind of do this. But in a way where you might as well just, it's because you're pulling this, right? If you do this, you're clearly pulling this a lot more. But it's almost like a nerve that you hit right here and it goes, it's like, for example, you hit right here, it goes just naturally. Like I had a dream back when I was in high school and I never really understood it, but I understand it. I've explained it many times, really. I probably shouldn't, but I was laying down on my bed. I wake up, I'm like, oh, what the hell? I think I'm paralyzed, but my body starts to do this. So the weight on this is going down. And I'm lifting myself up like this. I'm like, what the fuck? It's like, dude, but what? Look at my leg, because that's also important. The heel started feeling like it started digging me down. So it's like, if you dig down, like my body was doing that in a way where, let me just put it on. It really doesn't matter about my feet anymore. But my heel was like digging down in a way where I was legit doing this. And my left side of my back was clearly opening. And then I got to this point, I just jumped off because I had me and my brother slept right here. I slept on top of the top bunk. I just jumped the fuck off. I'm right here running and I teleport back up there. I'm doing the same thing. And I slowly start crawling again. It happened 3 times. Maybe a 4th. But I kept jumping off, running, jumping off, running. I was like, dude, there's no way. This is kind of like that was for me, because back then I don't think I've heard of the back rooms, but for me that was the back rooms, dude. I was stuck there. It spooked me out. But then I realized, oh, that was just the muscle of like nerves that hit and just kept going. Why? Because my posture is low-key like that anyways. So I kind of realized it probably had to do with my posture, because my weakness, low-key on my back right here, no, that's my strength then, right? So right here, if I flex this, then it brings me back a bit. But I'm not sure if I'm flexing this, because I could flex this and it would just kind of bring me back. Well, that's today, you know? Like I could just, no. If I do this, you'll turn eventually. Because if you flex this, you're flexing the back. You know, especially if you're doing this, you're flexing this side a lot more. If you're flexing this side, you're flexing this side, because you have to kind of like naturally come up anyways, because you're trying to center yourself. So moving forward is your back, and back is your forward, and your left, your right. But I did none of those exercises because I wanted to see something very specific. I say that, but I just was lazy and I was just laying down. And as I was sitting, and as I was sitting, right, I sit like this. And no, it's worse. I do this on my bed. And sometimes it's even worse because I do this. So it's like you're trying to see, if your body's doing this, what do you think your center is? Your center is actually finding how to create this position that's not based off doing this. You get what I'm saying? Like, this is what you're doing if you're not putting any emphasis to hold this position. But holding this position will take this. So I started seeing my head kind of falls, kind of, you know, you have to put your back on your back. You don't have to, it's like the problem is you're already putting weight where it seems to be putting weight at. So you kind of just have to play from that position. So it's kind of like, you'll find out that it's a lot harder to just move. Look, glide your eyes. It's kind of hard, but I'm telling you, right? If I blur it, like, it glides a lot better than most people's. It's like, I would naturally assume it's because there's certain, like, I fixed my neck enough, because your neck is going to guide it, but it's doing this like a sprinkler or something. But I'm telling you, right? A lot of people couldn't do that even if they blurred their eye. For me, it's like a little easier to do. But I'm telling you, what's it called? It is the exact same thing. This is happening throughout our bodies, because I'm telling you, you'll start to see it's right here, and then you'll start to see right here and right here. It's everywhere. Every little part of your body will start to kind of like feel like little cold streaks, warmth running through, whatever. I'm pretty much finished. So you got to understand, the last part is the most important. Forget everything. You just heard it. Listen. The position you're in, but you're just doing this. If you really had to live in this position, you have to kind of lift your leg and put it down at the same time. It's kind of like you have to twist your arm. For example, motherfuckers be saying, oh, do this. But we have such fucking bad postures that this position doesn't exist for us. This is a fake position. It's kind of like you're hoping, for example, it's like me choking myself. Like, if I do this for long enough time, if I kind of choke myself on the sides, I'll pass out. Just kind of like you're hoping I could do whatever the fuck I want to do while doing this. That's exactly what's going on. You're legit paralyzed. So you're understanding that when I say in another video, like, that it's kind of hard to come up from a position like this, it kind of is and it kind of isn't. A lot of people couldn't do that gliding motion either. And like, a lot of people will get the, like I don't know how it sounds. It just kind of like moves, but you're standing, you're like, well, hear me out. You're doing this. I don't know, man. It's kind of like I could understand. I'm like still pretty in my healing phase, I suppose. But what I'm trying to do, and when I sit down, low key, what I'm trying to find is how to put weight on both. But a lot of it has to do with your leg and how your butt sits. Because a lot of us sit on one butt and kind of like the other one. It's like as soon as you realize your leg is, oh no, and another one, right? You're laying down. Let's say your right leg's heavier, and your left leg could kind of just lift up. It's like how could it just move so easy? You get what I'm saying? And you have to understand that you're almost pressing on these nerves to make it move. And these nerves, I don't know where these nerves are located, but what I assume is the white spots that's connected to our bones, connected to the other white spots. Because it's kind of like if all these your neck, like I was saying, your neck is not that strong to move everything, but it is doing this. And I was trying to display a toy that kind of rotates like this and just rotates. Like there's like a something with the E, accelerated, but there's kind of like the exponential. Like it's really exponential. Like holy shit, like. So it's basically what I assume is the same thing. It's kind of the slow one, and then this one moves this, but it's like you could carry a lot, because obviously it's not the weight is not coming from your neck, but the signals of like pulling the fucking rest of your bodies in such coordinated ways are. I do this like a guitar string, ding 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 ding. So to some degree, you see my like okay, this one's 90 degrees ish. Let me see, 90 degrees, and this one's pulling forward. To some ways. I see, now it starts pulling me back. Like now I could feel even this started feeling right here. So I'm assuming, right? It's like there's kind of like the squabbles between how to straighten out your back to be like on your knees. But sometimes you're just kind of like, you're doing this. Because sometimes you're not realizing the weight of your legs kind of don't fall. And even if you do this, you're trying to do this to put weight. So you could understand that even like I'm doing this, how come my weight still feels back? It's because you naturally want to kind of find how to, I say naturally, you want to find how to heal to then be like that, because you're not understanding that your muscles are still going to be in certain incorrect ways. So you're never going to be able to move fundamentally the same as healing. I told you 3 years, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of the time I'm finding a lot more so often because my body is already, I could already understand the ways of balancing in a sense, you know? And because a lot of it, I say like, just pretend. And like, you'll start to really sit there and almost, pretending is not pretending. There's no such thing as, well, maybe there is a thing but when I started doing, maybe there's a thing, but let's just assume, right? There's two separate, there isn't a thing and there's a thing. So I'm gonna say that, I'm gonna say it like this. There's no such thing, right, as thinking it and it doesn't move. Because feel your hand, feel your hand, like just the top of it, not with your hand, just feel it. You're flexing certain ones. It's kind of like touching something hot is gonna do this. It's kind of like the mentality that you're thinking it for sure, but this one is kind of more of a reflex. Why does that matter? You're already in a reflexive state because your body wants to do this. So it's kind of like it's waiting for it to throw that punch, but you've been doing this, you've been anchoring in it, but not even anchoring it. You've been doing this in a way where you're just holding back. I just don't know how to extend it without extending it myself. But if you touch a chord on your foot, it goes, you know, it kicks forward. So why is that? I believe fundamentally the trick between asking or even checking our knees was to see how fundamentally, this is conspiracy time now, is to see fundamentally, for example, right? I suggest breathing increases, and I remember asking a doctor a long time ago when I went, because I realized, yeah, my body posture is not, like I throw punches and go, not because I have breathing problems. I do. I don't have breathing problems. I just have it's just fucking moves. So it just squishes on me and punches on me. I remember I was running in high school. I was trying to make it on the wrestling team, and oh my god, I ran like less than half a mile, yeah. And I started blacking out. I started seeing people like Brian Griffin in that one episode apparently, and I couldn't. I had a migraine. I started throwing up. I was crazy, bro. And to some degree, I was like kind of ashamed. I was like, oh man, so I can't just run anymore. Like I'm done for. Like if you can't run, you're fucked in any situation. You know what I mean? Can I run now? I mean, to be honest, I have no clue. I haven't even ran. I should try. I'm assuming it's better now. But I always had this problem where I sweat after I exercise. And I've seen a video or so. They never really taught you how to heal it. But they, oh, try this, try this. If not, go to a doctor. I shit you not. They know those fucking methods won't work. So they just want to, let's pamper you up. Let's see if you can do it by yourself. And if not, there you go. It's kind of cruel, really. Because they could have just sent you one way. Nah, they know there's no. But there is. There has been. Listen, so I'm saying, like, I don't do this. Like, this is not, I don't consist my day of just training and doing this. Even though it could probably help, I believe in any method. For example, you're moving in a way where your muscles telling you to do this, but you kind of like, you can't feel it, but you can. But listen, like, you're trying to find, like, if you lay down like this all day, you're trying to find out how to, oh, there you go, see? It's like putting yourself down is kind of curving it more, but curving this kind of brings the weight back to your butt anyways. So it's kind of like rare. It's kind of like realizing there's like a natural, this is what you're gonna see, right? There's a natural straight to you if you're just sitting or some shit. There's a natural this. And if you're doing this, your other side's doing this. But the problem is it's like if I assume this is trying to bring me back, but what if this lower part is trying to pull me down? So it's probably stronger the more it goes down than the more it's like up here. You know what I mean? Because this and this, obviously they work together, right? Like you wouldn't, you know what I mean? They don't follow. Unless you're like doing this, I guess they wouldn't follow. If you're trying to stay still, like, hey, I don't know. Hear me out though. Naturally speaking, I say lay down and think about sitting. Fuck it. I mean, at this point, think about how your leg would lift, and it's kind of easier to lift. But sometimes you got to realize you're not thinking. It is already the capacity of how you can move. This is why where fighters tell you there's almost like an instinct between how they're fighting and like they throw a punch and they can land it. You know what I mean? Because they see someone not be able to punch them in a way. You know what I mean? Because the way he moves is you could kind of tell, and the way you move, you can kind of tell, And if you get to him first, then it obviously, in a way you defend yourself because he's not able to punch in a way. For example, right? If I'm trying to put my leg up here, right? If I'm trying to do this, it's kind of like the bathroom type of curve. So if I'm trying to, because if I push down, obviously it's gonna push me back. So if I pull up, you know what I mean? Even this one will try to, I don't know, because what I'm showing you is something, but there's like a math to it actually, because you have to kind of picture what it is I mean. Because if I'm doing this, like I can feel like the muscle right here kind of, like if I lift this up, it's probably gonna hurt for some of you. Ooh, I can feel it a lot more tension here than here. No, there you go. My thing just cracked, but hold on. To some degree, you kind of want to press down to the point where you're trying to press down with this one. It's like the problem is there's so many unique movements that you could be making without you knowing you're making them because your muscles are just kind of like spasming throughout the day. Well, I'm a big believer of crazy shit, but like a lot of it does have an accurate science to it. Like, just prove it then. Like, oh fuck, hold on. To some degree, if I'm doing this, if I push, I'm pulling back. But for example, it's like I'm doing this, but I do not know. Pushing down does not uncurve my back, but to some degree, it kind of does. Because all the weight is going to be transferred to your legs no matter what you do because you're standing on them. And obviously, there's trade-offs between your bodies, and when something it's always going to be like this to a. It's not gonna teleport. It's kind of like a. It's always like a. Well, I don't know accurate movements per se. Like maybe that just doesn't make sense. But it does, because if you see my hands, I was tricking you almost. Because there's obviously natural movement progression here that isn't, for example, like this and then like that. I'm clearly showing you it, but in a different description. I was trying to suggest my stomach, but in a weird way, it was obviously my hands. So, and to some degree, the science is almost like this, like There's a song, I forgot what, but it's gonna like you spin it. Apparently that shit goes fast as fuck. I don't know, 40 minutes, that's crazy. It felt like 10. I was just running around. But so yeah, cool. But I feel like I have not, because there's so many. I'm telling you, there's any position while you're laying down, because I did it while laying down. And I'm suggesting you could revive people from comas. But that's going to kill so many fucking hospitals. In a way, they depend financially that this guy takes $1 million every year to take care of. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like incentivize. Because they're doing electric shock penis therapy for premature ejaculation. I just looked it up on YouTube. And that's crazy. I think to me that is fucking bizarre to many fucking ways. Because I obviously know it's wrong. I've been known it's wrong for like 3 years. Because I shit you not. Like as soon as I realized, I started being like, no, this and this and this and this and this and this. And I just kind of like create points. And I do something like, oh, and I'm like, you know what's funny? My muscles are just moving progressively smooth. And they're supposed to. But have you ever been like, it's like it's a, I can't even explain it because it falls into a certain place. Where it's like if you have certain pain and you can't push back this, it's like you can move it over here. You can kind of do this, but you definitely can't just do this. It was like years ago, so this is not, I didn't know the difference. But apparently some people have like stiff ass shoulders and they can't put it forward, but someone kind of helps them or some shit and they do something. Oh wow, I think they're lying. To many degrees, I think they're lying. But if they're not lying, I guess, you know, I could believe why, because a lot of the stiffness we get naturally, I don't even know, because they seem to have a pretty straight posture, you know, they're standing up straight. Doesn't mean you're standing up straight and having the muscles that kind of don't do weird shit as you are moving around this earth are different things, but they're obviously the same, right? If you present a high body posture, you're presenting health, you present this, but we fake it. And I think that's like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like I don't know. I don't know. So I'm saying, casually, right? Lay down on your back. Or you can do it sitting. Whatever. Listen, you lay down on your back, you're sleeping. Or your head posture. You're trying to find out how to, the easiest way to see is kind of like just push into it. For example, like you'll see that your leg is kind of lightweight to kind of, it's like, but you have to wonder, like, something is making it lightweight to a reason. I was trying to think to myself, as I thought many, I'm saying like, the reason your leg kind of gives out, not when you're walking, hold on. For example, you're sitting on it, you're just standing, and it kind of naturally goes, it's kind of like, you ever had like a broken arm, or like you ever hit that shit hard as fuck, and you can't put weight on it anymore? But you kind of can, but it kind of stops you right here. It almost like you want to push down, it kind of does this instead to kind of like, fuck, you're like, nah, never mind. It's like you're pushing down, you can't push down, you know? To some degree, you have to understand that that's just kind of like a physics thing that your body naturally has to prevent you from hurting yourself further. But to some degree, you also have to think, if I hit my arm right here, bing, I can't put weight on it anymore. And that it deactivates from like higher up, because if not, these muscles will constantly pull this bitch, 40 pounds, 50 pounds. So that's why it kind of stops it from a higher point. That's what I assume, right? It's kind of like touching something hot. That's obviously in your back and in your soul. Might as well to like remove it. But that's a whole lot of nothing to people trying to heal some other shit for real. So I'm trying to say, you it's like naturally do a position where you could kind of see. It's like you're trying to see the weight up be better than the weight down. Like you're trying to be like, the weight down is so kind of like unmoving. It takes a bit to jump me around. That this movement has a lot more breathability. It's kind of like you're not swaying on your leg, and you kind of could flex this better than trying to. It's like you're trying to counteract that fucking thing to some degree. Maybe this is still heavy, right? So it's kind of like you're trying to find how the natural. You will not know this until like probably like half a year later. Why? Dude, you've lost it throughout the years. Imagine you're trying to heal some shit that you fucking done lost when you was a kid playing fucking Pokemon on the floor. Like, you legit, you started right here or something. Like, to some degree, you are a curvature. It's like, you're doing this. What I'm saying, there's a way to bring you back. But it kind of sits, I don't know where it sits. Because I'm telling you, the heavier your legs are, the more mobility you have. Because think about it, imagine your arm, imagine it's kind of counteracting your movement. It's like, do this. Or do this, kind of. And then do this. It's like, it kind of, like, if I do this, like, I'm moving in such a different way because I'm trying to move this faster. I can't even, I'm lucky. It's a little difficult. But, for example, you're trying to do this, and you're trying to do this, you're trying to do this. I'm cracking a bit. Look, you hear that? Yeah, I kind of breathe involuntarily in a way. For example, like some people will be like this in a way where they're janky. It's because the rest of your body's moving. But if you can kind of hold it still for a bit, you're gonna have this in a better motion. Why? Because it's not, you're not fucking trying to fucking, you know what I mean? But that's happening with your legs too. Because every little movement, like, it shifts them. And you're coming in your fucking pants. Because I believe when you're drunk and you're laying down, you go whoosh, whoosh. But I believe that shit's happening to us every day. No bullshit. And I'm already done with the conversation because it's in another video. So go watch it if you like.